Such a beautiful melody. I've been making melodies all day. I wrote a gospel song earlier. I might play it for you. I might not. You understand? It's not a big to do. This is what I like to do. It's what I like to do. It's the holidays if you're watching this on the replay, because quite frankly, I make content that it doesn't age. If we're being honest. The videos I do them so it gives my portfolio value, right? Because at any given time, after I'm gone, you don't even have to have kids now. You can go off and have kids, and you can come back and just watch the videos that I do, and they're going to be relevant. Today I'm going to talk about the healthcare system. We're definitely going to have a extensive. Look at that. Amazing. The notes that I had all of a sudden stuck somewhere. We're going to talk about something I call system drift thesis. When history is forgotten, systems are free to drift. Think about it, let's slow the whole conversation down. When someone is orchestrating a new history, or it's just forgotten because with generations past, people stop caring about what happened 100 years ago. What happens is systems are free to drift. What does that mean? Many institutions lose their original purpose over time, and this is what I call system drift thesis. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into all of that later. Shout out to the whole Poker Face Society. Roby is in the house early. I have to do this for the people on the replay. Don't go anywhere. I have a lot of information. It's going to be a good show. As I'm preparing for the 2026, this will probably be my last show before the 2026, because I already have what we're going to talk about in the 2026. So this show is actually impromptu. Because I already have the stuff I'm going to talk about. Like those shows is already being set up with series. But this came up. We'll get into why it came up in a second. A drug was approved. It's like Ozempic. I think they call it Wegovy or something like that. We'll go over it. It was approved, and then that is what sparked this show. And if you listen to me, my doctor was trying to get me on Ozempic. Not that I wasn't even a candidate. So she actually wanted me to become a little bit sicker so that I could become a candidate for Ozempic, because she just felt like, this thing is going to help you. We're going to talk about it. I just want to slow the conversation down, if that's okay with everybody on the replay, right? Because it's the end of the year, and I really have to give a lot of... I don't like to say names because I might forget, because I'm human. But you know what? Shout out to the whole entire Poker Face Society, right? I think I'm going to start with Sonia Smith. When I was down to one person... Now, Sonia Smith, I don't think she no longer watches this channel. And that's okay. Because when I was down to one person, Sonia Smith stayed with this channel. Right? By March, I'll be at 10,000. Right? Who knows where I'll be at the end of the year? I seriously think I might be at 90,000. Right? And I don't say that even being funny. I'm not saying it to be mystical. Like, I'm going to talk into existence. No, nigga, I'm dope. I'm looking at what's going on out here. They panicking. They are panicking. Everybody's just talking bullshit. Oh, I'll be at 90,000. Don't nobody else got... Who the fuck can you learn from? Nobody. It's only a few. Nigga, let's be serious here. You understand? There's only a few that got shit to say. They don't got no replay value. Whatever they say today, that shit is for today and done today. I got people reaching out to me in DMs, chasing me around the internet. Yo, you could put up that old joint that you had up. I was actually teaching my kids about that. Wallahi, that's me. Let's be for real. So I'm not trying to be super positive or talk it into existence. No, it's more than likely going to go down like that. I'm probably going to be at a good 90,000 next December. These are the facts. But I cannot forget the people that were there. Sonia Smith. Rest in peace to Splashin', who passed away. I got a chance to meet him. It wasn't a show that he wasn't at, that he wasn't holding me down. He was holding us down all through the internet, mobbing. And he passed away a half an hour after I met him, which is crazy. Millie Mill. I don't think a lot of people stop watching my channel, which I don't blame them, right? I'm not an atheist, but I don't believe in your God, right? So a lot of people unsubscribe, which you probably should. You understand? I don't even want to explain it, right? I don't want to insult you, right? But some people, they still stay, right? Because I shouldn't waver your faith. Shout out to Trisha. Shout out to Mandingo Man. Shout out to GTM Basketball. Shout out to Frankie Blanco. Shout out to Abria. Shout out to Original Man in the building. Shout out to Doug Knox from Mount Vernon, New York. Huh? I don't speak to a lot of people all the time. Shout out to Chris Cooper. Shout out to Chris, I won't say his last name. Easy. I got friends in high places. I won't say his last name. Huh? He's a federal agent. Might have to run down on you one day. But when I do speak to these people, they let me know, yo, you keep doing your thing. Positive words of encouragement. Shout out to Uncle Andy. Shout out to all the new Poker Face Society members. We are the Poker Face Society. You know, some people get mad at me because they think I'm not speaking enough black power. I hear a lot of stuff. Yo, why you hate your people? I actually love my people. I think we could do better, right? So I troll you a little bit. You could take it. Niggas get shot every day, B. You understand? What the fuck is you talking about? Niggas get shot every day. You could take a little. Huh? You could take a little trolling. Which I'm not really trolling sometimes. I really do want you to do better. Us to do better. As a people. I don't want to do the whole black against white thing. You understand? Because I think it's more complicated than that. So, some people just don't understand my channel, and that's okay. That's just okay. This is not the channel for you. I'm not Mohandas Gandhi. I'm not, the Dalai Lama. I think there needs to be a balance in life. So you're going to hear me say a lot of positive things. And then one day that might flip your shit because you may hear me just trolling on people and making fun and light of situations. I don't hate anybody either. Well, let's get that. Let me see if that's even true. I don't think I really hate anybody. There's definitely some groups of people that I don't really. They're not my favorites. You understand? And then there's some groups of people where I don't hate you. Your culture's not my culture, and I speak my mind. That's that. Mobile. What's good, man? Shout out to Mobile in the house. There's a lot of people. That's why I hate to start naming names, because they're going to come in, you understand, and I'll start giving out more shout outs. But I want to give out more shout outs we're ending the end of the year. We're having it to some dope places, because a lot of people just won't have the courage to do a show about something because they're gonna feel like, yo, that's not gonna get any views. What can I do? What are you gonna do? That being said, let's start here. I decided I want to start here. Let me start here.
In 1979, I think it was, you were charged in New York City with practicing medicine without a license. You were ultimately charged, indicted, and taken before the New York Supreme Court. And I would advise my viewers who might be questioning your authenticity that you won that case. Now, so the charge was practicing medicine without a license and claiming that you had a remedy to cure AIDS, cancer, and diabetes. So the question is, how did you win that case against what some people say are the toughest prosecutors in the land?
Well, it was 1987.
87, not 79, 87.
The 10th of February.
Okay.
My mother knew they were coming. When I told my mama that I had cured my 13 AIDS patient, she said, "They gonna get you. They gonna get you."
So let me stop you there. You said I cured my 13 AIDS patients.
Yeah.
So you had 13 patients who had AIDS.
Yeah.
And then you say you cured them.
Sure.
Keep talking.
So my mother said, "They're gonna get you." I said, "But Mom, why are they gonna get me?" Because you must remember that you live in a society that supports a certain philosophy and a certain system. You being the color that you are, black, and then you going against the grain, they're gonna get you. So when I'm in my office on February the 10th, here come the detectives. You were charged with practicing medicine without a license, selling.
Stop right there, doctor. That's crazy. You know what? I haven't even watched this video in so long. Shout out to Rock Newman. That's crazy. You're charged with practicing medicine without a license. Coincidentally, that's what my show is about today. The origins of that. Now, that track that you just heard was a track that I made today, and I call that song Dear God. I might listen to it later on. We might not. You understand what I'm saying? But I know it put me in the mood, so it probably raised your spirit a little something too. This effing guy, what's good? Oh, this effing guy, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. I like to get into the origins of things because I don't think people really know. And this is what I call system drift. You understand? 100 years is really not that long. Think of it. My grandmother lived to 109. So 100 years is not that long. And yet so much can happen. So much can change. So much did change in 100 years. However, I think what most people are banking on, that when I say most people, I'm talking about most people that administrate the system, that are brought into the fold of being an administrator, a hall monitor in the system. Many of these people, they're just privileged. They're just happy to be called to be a hall monitor. You understand? It's like, yo, you want me to gatekeep? You seen that potential in me? I sure enough did see that grimy, evil potential in you. So they just feel privileged. Now you have so many. When we talk about the elite, you know, you could be, what group are you talking about? And remind you, not all the groups get along together. So what group are we really talking about? This is why I never really used to like to just be like, yo, they and the Illuminati and all, just talking, like people just talking, yo, the Illuminati is. So there's one group. You think, I mean, I could be wrong, but you think it's one group that just run the world? You don't think they probably, like, there's people, like, there's groups and different groups and subgroups, and I just think this happens to probably be subgroups. The most interesting group of all, probably to me, is the Jesuits, because the Jesuits, after reading their material, they fund both sides of the chaos. You understand? They consciously know that they're putting out agents on both sides of arguments, and they say, go have a field day, we got your back. So that's a funny group there. That's a funny group there. Michael Wilbur's in the building. Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you into. I don't care, bro. I'm almost 50. I don't want to hear about the white man's made up. I don't give a shit, bro. Yo, you over there celebrating Christmas? How about this? You don't even pay my mortgage. How about this part? Mind your fucking business. How about that, bro? I don't care what you're doing. You understand? It's either happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa. Say something positive, bro. Same thing with Thanksgiving. I'm just older now. I don't want to hear. I know what the white man has done. He knows what he's done. Go tell that shit to him, bro. I don't want to hear it. Niggas just want turkey. Some good food. Stop bringing down the vibes every year with the same. Please. Let's start right here. I'm going to freestyle it for a second. Hold on. First of all, let me put my chat over here just in case. I want to pay more attention to the chat this year. Some shows I don't like to pay attention to the chat because Michael Wilbur says, I want my White History Month. I don't know, Mike. It's probably too soon for that. It's bad. It's way too soon. I don't know. I don't know about the white. It's way too soon for a white history, Mike. Yeah. Actually, it's way too soon, Mike. But this is what I could work out for you. Let's just start with you being able to say you white and you proud. I don't know about a white history week or month. That is way too soon for that. But I will advocate for you being able to say you proud to be white. I could talk to some people to see if we can make that happen. Like, yo, they can't even say they proud to be white. Come on, man, let's give them something. But I can't go in there and be like, yo, they trying to work out a white history. Hell no, it's way too early for that. You're bugging, Mike. It's that. Hold on, Mike. Hold on. Mike is wilding on the Christmas. He's out here drinking the spike eggnog. Hell no, you're bugging. God damn. White History Month? Nah, bro. Nah. I was looking up some. You know what I wanted to know? This is what I wanted to know. Because I started researching a bunch of stuff. We'll get into it today. You know, if I say we're going to get into it, we get into it. But what I wanted to know is, because I knew the answer before I even started the research. And I'm like, how did the slaves heal themselves if they got sick? Like, did all of them just die? Was a white doctor called in? I knew the answer, but I wanted authors. I wanted books. I found a couple. I found a couple, and they're pretty interesting. We'll get to the end of this book after we go to my slides. This one blurb right here says, when a slave became sick, we most time had the best of care take of us. Master let our old mammy doctor us, and she used herbs from the woods, such as cami weeds, peach tree leaves, red oak bark, for fever, chills, and malaria. And yes, one more weed, privet weed for TB, or things that the white doctor could not cure. Yes, if we got a leg or arm broken, Master would have the white doctor with us. But that was about all for our old Negro mammy. Was one of the best doctors in the world with her herb teas. Aha. When she gives you some tea made from herbs, you could just bet it would sure do you good. John Mosley, born in 1851 in Texas. We just listened to Dr. CB. Some say Sebi, some say CB. We just listened to him on the Rock Newman show. And he was reoccurring when the feds came down on him and charged him, he says in 87, for practicing medicine without a license. When did we get here? When did we get there? You see how fast you see how fast things can change in 100 years? That in 87, in 100 years, 1987, they're coming to arrest people. They're coming into your establishment. Hey, we got to bring you to jail. I'm sorry, why? You're practicing medicine without a license. 1887, no such thing. 1887, you get sick. White man gets sick, black man gets sick. They both looking for an Indian shaman or a black person who still remember the ways from Africa to teach them to go and amongst the flowers and get me something to make me better. Cure me, please. And in 100 years, they're coming to arrest someone. How does that happen? That's what I want to talk about today on my show. And it's going to help us for the series that I start to do in 2026. Michael Wilbur says it's all about the money. Mobile says return to the nature to repair the vehicle. Yeah, I remember when they used to call this your vessel. You understand? We definitely have to get back to that. And you guys are both right. It is all about the money. But I kind of want to look at it with facts. You know how I like to do it. I want us to be educated on the origins. So unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, not because I don't have fun doing my show, but because it's more work for me. You understand? Having to do a 4-5 hour live teaching. That being said, I've pinned the donation link. That's not some random person. 2 places. The donation link is in this chat, and the donation link is in the video description if you're watching on the replay. I know a lot of people, they enjoy the videos, right? Listen, even if you only gave $1, because how I see it, if everybody that liked the video gave $1, we'd be doing okay. Now, as they said in Coming to America, we like the money, the type of money that jingles, but we prefer the kind that folds. You understand me? We like the money that jingles, but we prefer the kind that folds. Go ahead and drop a little 20 in there. 25. Because I got a lot of work to do tonight. And every show that I do, people are like, yo, when's the next one? We got my girl Angie in the house. We got Angie in the house. She found us. Angie's in the house. Merry Christmas, Angie. And you right on time, because I didn't start teaching yet. So you right on time. I'm pretty sure Uncle Andy's at his brother's house. I haven't spoken to him, but I'm pretty sure he is. Right? I had to really just squeeze in the show for Andrea. I ain't gonna hold y'all. She was on it, bro. Like butter on hotcakes. She's like, yo, when's our next joint? And I'm like, yo, God, I got to do something. But I can't rush my series for the 2026. We putting that together now. And then this fell into my lap. The show we're doing now. So let's get into this show here. All right. Bear with me, y'all. I will try my best. Hold on. Let me bring back up I want to see the people. Cool. I will try my best to keep this interesting. I just realized, like, I am so autistic. Like, I just realized this, right? I was talking to my mom the other day. And after so many people tell you something for a certain amount of years, you just have to eventually hear that shit, right? So I don't know what I was talking to my mother about the other day. And she was like, well, just, like, nobody needs to know all that. And that's when I realized I over-explained everything. So I didn't say, like, it's good to do a show with you guys, because you guys that watch my YouTube channel, you like, oh, he gets into it. Unfortunately, I've been getting into it with any explanation that I ever did, and this rubs my friends and family the wrong way. They hate when I do that shit. And I'm like, wait a minute, am I autistic, bro? Am I just out here just over explaining shit like a nerd head all the time? Yes. She just started laughing. I said, yo, mom, I'm realizing I over explain everything. She just started laughing. I said, yeah. She's not the only one. All my friends say that shit. Like, damn. Shit is good for a YouTube show, not for like real life. System drift thesis, historical accountability framework, and doctrine of institutional memory. That's what I would like to talk about today. System drift thesis. Now, as I was saying earlier, when history is forgotten, and it doesn't take that long to forget history, systems are free to drift. We see this all the time. Often away from public service and toward profit, just like Michael Wilbur mentioned earlier. Many institutions lose their original purpose over time, and this is what I call system drift. Now, what brought this about? I say Gavi. I'm pretty sure it maybe Mike. Mike says, I bet you would have been on the debate team in high school if they had one. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to agree with you. I don't know if they had one, but if I wasn't a knucklehead, by knucklehead I mean just spend all my time in TV production. Not like I wasn't really a idiot, like just out there in the streets at that time. I didn't really get into the streets until right after I graduated. The year I graduated is the year I just was like, all right, let me see what the streets is about right now, because I don't think I'm getting a job. Yeah, I tried to work at the Toys R Us. This is not doing it. Yeah. And then once you get a few thousand in your hand from light work, it's a wrap from there. It's like dope in your veins. You like, word? So he went to work 2 weeks for this? How many? Nah, he went to work for a whole month for this. I just did this real quick. We could do this again? When? In a couple of days? All right, let's go. And then it just went stupid from there, right? Wegovy. I wake up because I got the New York Times subscription, and this is placid right there. Wegovy got approved, and I said Now I had already knew Wegovy. Why did I know Wegovy? Because, like I said, my doctor tried to get me on Ozempic. Like, she was praying I had diabetes. She was like, yo, you gotta have. She moved up my date to see her again because she thought I was going to have diabetes. And my blood pressure went down. I just did that just to fuck with her. Like, I just... the sugar went down. First of all, I don't look at the numbers like that. I just go off of how I feel, right? And then I'm like, yo, let me correct my shit. Because I know how to correct it. I got wild herbs in the house. I got everything. I got mullein. I got everything here that I buy, and I have it here, and I keep them in jars and stuff, right? My main go-to, though, I'm not gonna hold you, is more than likely turmeric. Turmeric does wonders. Turmeric and ginger. And then I don't use, well, let's put it like this. I wasn't using sugar the white sugar or the brown sugar. What I was doing was using in a guava syrup. But driving the damn truck, sometimes it get a little bit. I get off track, but I'm about to get back on track. Never mind all that. So me looking up Ozempic, I had discovered Wegovy. Either way, the older diabetes medicine used to have to prick yourself, right? You used to have to like stab yourself and shit. Never did it. Was reading on it. You have to hit yourself with the needle with the insulin. Hit yourself. And there's people that's out there that have to deal with this right now as we talk, probably watching my show, so they know better than I do. So what makes this particular prescription a big deal, pharmaceutical a big deal? The FDA has approved the first oral GLP-1 weight loss pill in the United States. The drug is called Wegovy pill, the same active ingredient used in the popular injectable Wegovy, but now in a daily tablet form. This is a big milestone because until now, most GLP-1 drugs have been injections, which require needles and often refrigeration. The pill form makes the treatment easier to take and more accessible for many people. Now, as we get into this show, let me just tell you right now, I'm not here to tell you whether something is good, bad, or I'm not even talking about the drug. I have to choose my battles wisely, and my battle is not with this pharmaceutical company, right? So I'm not telling you whether it's a good or bad. That's not what my show is about. How it works. GLP explained simply. GLP-1 drugs mimic a hormone in your body called glucagon. I'm pretty sure that's not how you say that. Let's try that again. Glucagon. That sounds a little bit better. Like peptide, which tells your brain you're full sooner. It slows digestion, helps control the appetite, improves blood sugar regulation. These combined effects often lead to weight loss and in many cases, better overall metabolic health. All right. Why this matters? In major clinical trials, especially the old ACEs-4 trial, adults taking the Wegovy pill saw significant weight loss, an average of about 16.6% body weight loss over about 64 weeks. Nearly 1 of 3 people lost 20% more of their body weight relative to starting weight in the same period. The name of this company that is selling this is Novo Nordisk. When will it be available? The Wegovy pill is expected to launch in the U.S. in early January 2026. The manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, says it will be available in a once-daily tablet, which is typically taken on an empty stomach with water and then waiting about 30 minutes before eating anything. Now, I'm pretty sure they owe me a check for all of that. I just feel like a used human being. But like I said, I'm not telling you negative or positive either way. However, let me get into my thing that I do, right? Because there's no way in the world that you thought I was not going to notice that big-ass bull and either a moon or a sun above the moon's head and thought I was going to say nothing. You're bugging. You're bugging on my thugging. What's up with the bull? What's up with the ox? Novo Nordisk says the bull represents what? Michael Wilbur wants to know what the side effects are. We'll look at it. Right after we get into this bull. Nova Norton says the bull represents strength, reliability, endurance, and stability. They would say that. I don't know why they had to put the moon there. Because anybody that watched my show, this is just like stealing candy from a baby when you do silly shit like that. Now I got to be like, no, this is what y'all doing. Don't make my show that easy. You gotta make me work for it, bro. The bull of heaven, ancient meaning, where it comes from. The bull of heaven appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known written stories in human history, circa 21 BC to 1200 BC, which, if you watch my show, I go on to remind you all the time that the people who call themselves the Hebrews had stolen these people's history and started retelling their stories and wasn't giving them no credit, renaming fucking characters. Shit got stupid. A whole book got famous off of it. You understand? Whatever. That got totally out of hand, whoever these Hebrews are. I have an idea who they are. No one really knows. I think they're exiled Egyptians who went to go start or continue a changed religion in Canaan. I give a whole video about it somewhere in my portfolio. The Hybaru people were already putting pressure on the Canaanites. This is documented. The Canaanites had reached out to Ananakin before and pleaded with him that he would send resources to deal with the Hybaru people. Could the phonetic term of Hybaru turn to Hebrew? Very likely. But again, speculative. I don't have solid proof of this. I have solid proof that the Canaanites reached out to Akhenaten. So we know they were allies. I have solid proof that the Egyptians wanted his ass up out of there because they got tired of, they wanted to go back to the old ways, to the priesthood of Amun. He wanted a monotheistic religion. They wasn't used to that. They got him up out of Dodge. In my opinion, where would he go? Where would you go during that time? You would go somewhere where you had friends. Where did he have friends? He had friends in Canaan. So when you really do the history, the shit starts to make a lot of sense. Where these fucking Hebrews just popped out of nowhere. You understand? We can't say couldn't have been done because recently in this century, Dr. York just popped up in Atlanta. I mean, he didn't just pop up like 1, 2, 3, but he definitely created damn near his own nation right under America's nose. When they figured out what he was doing, they threw his ass in jail. They have their own language. I'm pretty sure he was going to start his own currency. Anyway, I didn't want you to think that the Sumerians were a group of nobodies, because I don't think they get enough respect, because no mainstream scholars like to talk about, no mainstream theologians like to really speak about them, as if we're not standing on the shoulders of their existence. It's crazy. You're bugging. The bull of the heaven, anyway, this is the bull that we see on Novo Nordisk, the manufacturers of this Wegovy that was approved by the FDA for pill form, appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest written stories in human history, originating in ancient Sumer and Akkad. This isn't myth in the modern fantasy sense. It's early civilization explaining power, nature, and limits. The bull of heaven is a divine weapon, not just an animal, sent from the heavens by the goddess Ishtar, or you may know her as Inanna. Represent cosmic force unleashed onto human world, causes earthquake, drought, famine, mass death. What happened? Well, in the story, when the bull stomps the earth, the ground splits, hundreds die at once, the natural order collapses. The bull is raw, uncontrollable life force turned destructive. Ishtar proposes to Gilgamesh, right? Ishtar proposes to Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh rejects her, listing the destruction of her past lovers. So I guess Gilgamesh is like, yo, you're a whore. On what planet do you really think I would wife you because of your father? You understand? I'm the prize. You're a whore. You're bugging. I don't know how that worked out. Humiliated, Ishtar goes to her father, the sky god Anu. This is the father of the Anunnaki. You understand? They come from a place called An. They brought An into a city, but they called it On down here on Earth. They called it On, so they renamed another city down here called On, same thing phonetically. City of the Sun, and then that was renamed by the Greeks and called Heliopolis. Anyway, I digress. And demands of the bull of the heaven. So let me start that over. Humiliated, Ishtar goes to her father, the sky god Anu, and demands the bull of the heaven to punish humanity, specifically Gilgamesh. Yeah, she was wildin'. I don't know why, because one dude turned you down. She was bugging. One guy. Granted, he is one of the strongest guys down here on the planet. He turns her down, and she goes to her father for the crazy bull. So the bull actually represents divine authority in this sense. Any old way, did Nova Nordis know this, or they could have really had any logo. I don't know why they went with that logo, knowing the history of the destruction of the bull. But like Michael Wilbur said, maybe we'll look into the side effects, and maybe there's minimum side effects. I'm not hoping there's side effects like getting crazy. Anyway, my show is about system drift today. So let me say this. I believe it's essential that we preserve an accurate historical narratives of how the systems we rely on today actually came into existence. When we lose sight of their origins, we also lose the ability to understand how we arrived at our current reality. And that's a fact. Over time, many of these systems drift away from their original purpose, often distorted by monetized greed. Maintaining a transparent historical records ensures accountability and gives people the context needed to critically evaluate the world they're living in. When we have a responsibility to protect the historical record of how today's systems were formed, because memory is power. If we forget how these structures were built, we lose our ability to recognize when they've been corrupted. We'll get into the FDA. At this point, man, you're probably wondering why that thing has not been cleaned up, right? They told us that Oxycontin was not addictive. Apparently, it was addictive, very much so. Anyway, I digress. Over time, systems often mutate, especially once profit becomes the primary driver instead of public good. A preserved and honest track record allows people to see the transformation clearly and decides whether the current version truly serves them. Understanding where our modern systems come from is not just an academic exercise, it's a form of self-awareness as a society. When historical context is erased or distorted, systems are free to evolve in ways that no longer align with their original intent. Too often, that evolution is driven by monetized greed. Keeping a truthful historical trail intact gives people the tools to recognize when people shifts away from the service and towards exploitation. History matters because systems don't appear out of nowhere. They're built, shaped, and eventually repurposed. When we fail to document that process honestly, those systems can be quietly transformed into something unrecognizable, usually in the name of profit, as we will see later. I have a lot of reading to do with you guys later. A lot of reading. But I do it for you guys, right? But we're going to be fine. Preserving an accurate historical narrative keeps people informed, grounded, and capable of questioning whether the present version of these systems is serving the public or simply extracting from it. All right. Let's start with this guy right here, man. This is who I would like to start with. We can't think logically. We can't think critically. You know, here's the thing. I studied sociology in college, and when I got there, I didn't know so many philosophers were famous for like simple thoughts that I had been thinking. Like most of this stuff to me was simple, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is why you guys keep saying these guys' names over and over again? I thought they they were thinking outside of the box, but apparently, if you're the only one thinking rational, it is outside of the box, right? It's not that you're thinking something so complex. Your thoughts are not complex. You're just thinking the simplest rational and logical thought. And because most people were involved in group think and just being a sheep, the people that questioned the norm were isolated and recognized, I guess. Let's get into Marx. Now, I'm no expert on Marx. Please talk back to me. Anybody want to push back in the comment section? Go ahead and push back, and I may learn something from you tonight, and we'll go from there. Karl Marx looked at society and asked a question that still makes people uncomfortable. Who owns the system and who works inside it? Marx lived during the Industrial Revolution in Germany, by the way. Roby says they were just describing the box. Why do so many philosophers that we acknowledge here in the States, because I can't say it's worldwide, I haven't been worldwide, right? I don't know who they acknowledge in China, right? It's probably, they could be acknowledging Indian philosophers for all I know. Like, but there's a great deal of philosophers that are always on repetition at the end of somebody's tongue here in the United States, right? Marxism, right? Calvin, Descartes. There's a few. Not all of them are German, but Many of them are European. I think I'm talking about 3 today, and 2 out of the 3 are German. So, anyway, let's keep going. He questioned who owns the system and who works inside it. Thomas Paine, right? Is Paine was, obviously of European descent, but was he not American, Mike? Marx lived during the Industrial Revolution when factories were booming and workers were being crushed. What he noticed was simple but powerful. Those who owned the means of production, factories, land, capital, also controlled what? Politics, culture, and law. Now, just like he said, just like I said, it was a simple concept. However, you have to take the time. You need a group of people to sit down and have this discussion over some, drinks and cornbread, crumpets, whatever floats your boat, biscuits, whatever floats your. But what I do know, you need to think about it. A discussion needs to be had. It appears that these people that start owning these factories, and these factories are making money, all of a sudden they start controlling politics. We notice this to be true because we look at the Koch brothers, right? I don't just mean to pick on the Koch brothers. There's so many. Bill Gates. Bill Gates is out of freaking control. But he's kind of newer to the scene with the old technology thing. Him and Jeff Bezos. But technically, they're still doing the same thing that these older guys were doing. So Mike sums it up real nice. Society is good. Government is bad. However, I believe if society had too much power, society would be bad too. Humans they're not designed, I don't think, to have too much power. You know why? Because there's too many pleasures. You understand? When you have more power, you have more money, you have the ability to please yourself way more often. If you can please yourself way more often, you don't have to think about I gotta go to bed early because I gotta wake up in the morning, spend 8-10 hours there for 5 days a week if you're lucky, right? People out here doing 14 hours a day, Jack, never seeing home. But what if you didn't have to do that and you had the money? Well, that may lead you to get bored with the average. You understand? Because you've done this so many times, now you're looking for a new high. So going out to the steakhouse used to turn you on. Right? That steakhouse. You used to see people. Now you don't care if you go there. Now you need something new. And this is when you find yourself in all type of ridiculous antics. We watched the video of us talking about I forget his name, but the 2 33-degree Masons who got bored and they wanted something more thrilling. So they created another secret society that you could only get to if you was a 33-degree Mason called the Shriners. And they made up a whole history about it being connected to the Mohammedans, which it came out none of that was true. However, my point is they only did it because they got bored at what became normalized. So I think any human being, we call these society and we call this government and we this, that, but any human being, if it flips right now, society had more the power and then government didn't, just give us some time. They're gonna do the same thing that these other people. You know why? Because we're all human beings. Anyway, let's get back into this. To Marx, society runs on class relationship, owners versus workers, profit versus survival. He believed that the labor creates value, but ownership captures the reward. Right. I think he was right. The labor definitely creates the value, but it's for Jeff Bezos is a prime example of what he's talking about. So to get your package today was ill, right? For you to go on an app and be like, yo, I want this. And then Amazon is like, yo, if you do it before 11, I can get to you by 2. Like, what? Oh, hell yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do? Let me tell you something from someone who's worked at Amazon Flex. Yeah, me. There's not too much out here I haven't done. Amazon Flex set their app up so you could not do too many hours. Now, if you have done Amazon Flex, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Amazon Flex is very structured. You're going to have to pick a time slot. And I'm not talking crap about Amazon or Amazon Flex, because every time I chose a spot, they always had me in the best neighborhoods. I've never delivered to anywhere crazy, ever. It was always places where I was like, damn, this is a nice neighborhood. However, my only gripe was like, yo, why you can't offer me more work? And what they was paying, it was basically, I was doing it because it beats a blank. And I'm not ashamed to say that, right? I will get out here and dig ditches for my family, shovel shit, whatever, so that the family can eat. Because that's what a man does. But back to Marx, the value was in the labor. Me getting out there, because Jeff Bezos made a promise that these people could get their stuff by 2 if they ordered before 11, right? Well, he also told me, listen, I'll pay you $70 for this. I could have said no. But what the hell else am I doing? I'm doing a lot of work for fucking $70, but I could do jack shit for no dollars. How about those apples? And that's how Jeff probably seen it. Like, nigga, you out here, you fucked up if you in the game any way if you over here trying to do Amazon Flex. So what's it gonna be, bro? If you had bread, you would not be over here trying to do Amazon Flex. Yeah, you're right about that. So take it or leave it. What the fuck? We got wild people here that want to do it. Yeah, I'll take it, man. Stop talking to me like that. And that's how it goes. So the value is in the labor, but it really all goes back to Jeff. What does Jeff do when he gets to the money? He gets bored. How do I know he gets bored? Because Jeff started a fucking delivery service and then end up spending $60 million on manufacturing food in Florida before they booted his ass up out of there. I was like, nah, you can't do this, bro. We're not letting you and this other wacko fucking jacko just start making hamburgers out of grass. What are you doing? That's what they say. Enough is not enough. Enough is not enough. You understand? Enough is not enough. It's always going to go somewhere else. And I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't want that level of life where I ever get bored with regular female punani and I'm down to clown all around the town. I don't know. No. It's not that boring, bro. It's work that shit out. Work it out. But you got some people, I guess they feel like, yo, I've done all I could do with these women. Find another one. And another one if you need to. Don't go full sodomite on your boy. Don't do it. And here's the key thing that people misunderstand about Marx. He wasn't just angry about inequality. He was explaining how it's structured. In healthcare terms, Marx helps us see corporations, insurers, pharmaceutical companies. He helps us ask who benefits financially from illness. Ooh. That's a question for your ass. Roby says the Arkansas Walmart is dropping deliveries at your doorstep via drone. Shout out to Sam Walton. Shout out to Sam Walton, who is dead. However, he had a dream. He was a visionary. And god damn, did he create that? He did that. Yes, you're absolutely right, Roby. Yeah, Roby, that's how I feel. Merry Christmas, Daniel. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, Roby? If you can't work that shit out, Playboy. Here's a hint. Not one of these goddamn massage parlors or massage parlors, right? You understand? Not the Chinese ones. Figure it out, nigga. Anyway, let's get back to it. That's a deep question. Who benefits financially from illness? Damn. And it's a rhetorical question too. It's a rhetorical question. Michael says it's getting harder to keep up. How old is she, Michael? Who are you dealing with, bro? Michael's out here on that rich white man shit. That's the problem with you. Huh? Good middle-aged white man did good for himself. Now he's complaining. It's harder for me to keep up. Can't keep up with her. Mike, you don't deserve a month celebration, bro. We gotta make you work for the celebration, Mike. I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with you, bro. You wanted a month celebration just 5 minutes ago. Now you can't put in a good, strong 2 minutes. Oh, okay. Okay, I got you, Mike. Yo. Who gets paid whether outcomes improves or not? Damn. These are some real questions. This is why I like sociology, right? Because you could take a simple... It's just like when the elders was teaching me, you got to have knowledge of self. And I'm like, I got knowledge of self. You think you have knowledge of self because you are yourself. So you're like, I know about myself. Word is bond. Have you sat down and had a conversation? Not with yourself, but with yourself about yourself. It's a difference, right? I don't need you at the 2 train or the Metro North just having a blatant conversation with yourself out loud. But in all honesty, on the ride to work, you understand? While you're relaxing in the bathroom, get to know yourself. And by get to know yourself, answer the real fucking questions, right? You may not answer the real questions with your significant other because you want to win an argument, right? You don't never want to admit that shit. That's cool. But goddamn, don't ever lie to yourself. Right? So you could talk about your strengths and your weaknesses to yourself. You see, Mike know he can't put in no good 2 minutes no more, right? This is why he invites the pool boy over the fucking pool. There's no water in the pool, right? Everybody's thrown off. Why'd you invite the pool boy? Marty's here. Mike, see the way you look at the pool boy. I'm just going to leave for a couple years. You have some fun, man. Hopefully you're worn out by the time I get back, right? He's talking about he's going to another state. He just have fun, right? This is not I'm just keeping it real with myself. I've been watching Saladini. He says, keep it real with yourself. I don't have the 2 minutes in me. The fuck? You want to go and go and go. I'm an old man now. Shit. I just want to sit back and listen to some sociology on YouTube. I feel you. But these conversations need to be had. Who benefits financially? We're going to get to it anyway. Let's get to Max Weber. I think he's another German. I don't have anything against the Germans. I don't want my tone to be taken when I say another German. It's just that the Germans keep coming up. Let's just keep it real. It's whether we're talking about finances with the fucking Wahlbergs, whether we're talking about philosophy with the fucking Freuds, and it's just always the Germans. And if it's not the Germans, it's the other ones. And it becomes a lot after a while. Like, Jesus Christ. Always with you guys? Is this what we were talking about when we talk about white supremacy? Sidebar. Should white people get a trophy for going from the Middle Ages of being almost taken out by fleas to being restored by sand niggers and Africans and taking that shit to first place, bro? That shit is amazing. That's a conversation. That's a fucking conversation for your ass. We act like the white man has been in charge since forever, right? And I don't think anyone really slows down the conversation to see, like, yo, he almost fucking killed himself. Fucking fleas, bro. Couldn't wash his ass. Crazy. What are you doing? Arabs and soft helmets came over. No, you have to take the soap and scrub your body. He took all that information and ran off to the fucking finish line on them. God damn. Amazing. Fucking amazing. And he's about to lose, obviously. In this country, anyway. The white man is going down. Jesus. But that's a long reign. That's a long reign, Playboy. It's nothing to be... You shouldn't be... You understand? You had a long run, white man. You had a long run. And you're still fighting. You're still kicking up dust. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm here with the popcorn watching all of this shit go down. We're going to see what happens. Anyway, Marx was focused on money. Where Marx focused on money, Weber focused on control. So, let's just do this again. Marx asked who benefits financially, right? And Weber wanted to know about the control. Michael Weber says, you really can't believe your life on someone else. Elaborate, Mike. What do you mean by it? Am I missing something? Elaborate on that comment. Weber said modern society is built on rationalization. Let me read that again. Okay, Michael says, I know my timeline is not it is not the same as you. That's true. And your line is not the same as your friends. That's true. I believe that, right? I believe that. Everyone has now when you say timeline, sorry to make you do so much typing, Mike. When you say timeline, I'm thinking you mean algorithm. But you could be having a totally different conversation like this fucking guy is saying right now. We could be having two totally different conversations. So please elaborate a little bit more on the timeline. Because if you're saying I know my timeline, meaning my algorithm, living my life through you. Oh, okay. Well, I was just joking. I don't know if you could go 2 minutes. Don't pay attention to me. I'm fucking making jokes, bro. I don't know if you could go 10 minutes or 5, right? You could be impotent, Mike. Right? You could be a fucking eunuch, bro. Right? What the fuck do I know? Don't be offended because I said you can't go 2 minutes. I just fucking joke up here, right? You could go no minutes, right? You could be. You might need me after the show to hook you up with a guy that knows a guy to get you blue pills. I don't know. DM me, bro. DM me. We'll talk about it after the show. I don't know. I'm just making jokes. You probably out here putting it in. Let's go with that narrative from now. For the rest of the show, Mike's out here. If you need long cock for hours, Michael Wilbur 9889 is your guy. That's the fucking guy, ladies. You understand? Let's just, he does not like that narrative, right? No, he says jokes again. No, I'm not joking. Ladies, Mike, put your number down there. If you need long cock for hours at a time, Mike's the fucking guy. Dead ass. Dead ass, right? He's like, no, you can't believe everything you hear. I didn't hear that shit. I was just fucking joking around. But if you want to get serious, ladies, he wants you to know he's not impotent and he's here to put it down, right? So if you're looking for a white guy between the age of 50 and 80, who's trying to bring back white power and wants a white history month, puts it down for hours at a time. That's your fucking guy. Right there. Right there. Chill, Mike. Chill. I'm just fucking with you, bro. Don't listen. Yo, bro. Mike, come on, man. You know me by now. I'm out here talking shit about everybody. Don't let me get underneath your skin talking shit. Weber says modern society is built on rationalization. I just want to compute that for a second. Rationalization. Okay, so what he calls rational is these four things, right? Rules. That would be rational, right? Hey, we got to have a set of rules, which seems, no pun intended, rational. Procedure, standard operations of procedures, SOPs. I agree with him there. Metrics. You need to see what's working, be able to measure it, so you can know how to adjust it or to obliterate it altogether. Efficiency. So I'm going to agree with Weber in this sense. This gave us bureaucracy, governments, corporation, institutions that run on policy instead of people. Weber argued that power no longer needs force, it only needs legitimacy. You guys are crazy. Max Weber, he identified 3 types of authority. 1, traditional. We've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. Let me tell you, most of the times at my job, that's the one that got me in trouble right there. Because I come in and I see some dumb shit, and I'm like, why are you doing it this way? There's a famous startup I worked at. I don't want to say their name. Fuck those guys. They brought me in to be an IT manager. And they were so okay with being like inefficient. And I'm like, why? So the guy who I took over his job, he had moved up, which he was my boss, but he had moved up. So I had his position. So people were like, damn, you getting shit done in 4 months that this dude couldn't get done in 4 years. He did not like that comment, right? And it just was like, yo, bro, we could run parallel. Like, first of all, I'm a project manager at heart. So I'm not doing waterfall timelines. I'm doing agile timelines. I could run parallel things at more than one thing at one time. But usually when you want to come in and change something, the answer you're going to get is when you ask them, why do you do it this way? Is they say, we've always done it this way. And then here's the other thing. People don't like change. So when you go to try to change that shit, you're going to just be sitting there looking like, yo, you're not going to understand it because you're like, yo, we could work more efficient this way. They don't want to hear that more efficient shit, bro. And yes, you are absolutely making sense when you think like that and say that shit. But you're not the person in charge. And guess what? The people at the top, I just left another company. I just left the Department of Transportation last year. And the first thing they told me when I got in there, he was like, yo, don't come in here trying to change the system. Obviously, if he said that to me, you already know what happened, right? The system was full of shit. The system was, it was inefficient. And I was just wondering, like, yo, why y'all do things that way? And the answer I got is we've always done it this way. The second type of authority is charismatic. People follow a leader. Well, Hitler was a leader. People follow a leader. Hitler had potential, but I don't really know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. He took on way too much at one fucking time, and then he couldn't handle the stress. Probably got on pharmaceuticals. Probably got on some type of narcotics, from what I hear. I don't know, but from what I hear, he was strung out heavy on some type of narcotics. And that'll, you know, throw everything off. But from what they say, he was very charismatic. To some. And the last one is legal rational. Rules, credentials, and institutions. Legal rational, which we'll talk about tonight when you're thinking we're not getting to the pharmaceutical part, right? The name of my show is License to Pill. And you're like, yo, when are we going to talk about that shit? Easy, young grasshopper. You have to understand why we got there in the first fucking place. Why some shit that didn't need to be. And I'm not saying Wegovy or Wegovy. I'm not even talking about Wegovy. There was other pharmaceuticals that never was supposed to make it to be approved. And it got approved. And people, quite frankly, passed away because of the negligent leadership. But it was a bit more than negligent because they knew it wasn't approved worthy from the jump, right? But somebody had the ability, the authority to make it legal. So we got to talk about society. We got to talk about sociology if we're going to get a better understanding. Michael says, so was Jeffrey Dahmer. It puts the lotion on its skin. My point is, when I say that, Mike, so was Jim Jones. You have a lot of charismatic people, and they're not always going to be seen in the best of light, but they will be seen as leaders. Now, I don't know if Jeffrey Dahmer was a good leader. He was out here eating people. But I don't know I don't know Jeffrey Dahmer to have a following. Jim Jones had a following. Rocked them all to sleep. That's a fucking leader, right? There's no talking your way out of that one. Like, nah, Jim Jones wasn't leader. Bullshit. Huh? They went out. David Koresh. That's a fucking leader. Yeah, follow straight to the refrigerator, bro. That's nuts. Yo, you have that type of talking power? How charismatic? I don't want to find out, but it's a rhetorical question. How charismatic are you, bro? And he's running around here with the big dyke glasses from the 70s. That's crazy. Modern society lives almost entirely under legal, rational authority. So when it comes to Max Weber, he's saying out of the three identified types of authority, it is the legal rational that has the almost entirety of control over people. The people who make the rules, credentials, and institution. This is, in a second, you're going to find out why this is important. That's why you hear phrases like, well, that's policy, or we're just following procedure. Oh, I hate all of these fucking phrases. The system won't allow it. We hear all this type of dumb shit, but who writes the policy? And can the policymakers be compromised? Yes or no? Yes or no? Can they be compromised? We know the answer to that. The answer is yes. They can be thrown a couple of dollars and then they'll change the fucking policy. And this is why we have to have conversations about sociology, right? We just have to just chill out on a slow day like Christmas. Shout out to baby Jesus, right? Baby Jesus. Adult Jesus, you're too old to be running around in open-toed sandals. Grow up. And that's not your birthday. Knock it off. But baby Jesus is innocent. So shout out to baby Jesus. What did he do? He didn't know that people was going to eventually call him things he has no way. I'm not the Messiah. Why are you guys saying this thing? That's not even a picture of me. What are you doing? Hey. It's just an innocent baby, man. Weber warned that this creates an iron cage, a world that's efficient but soulless, where people feel trapped inside systems they didn't design and can't challenge. All right. So far, just to retract, we have someone asking, who controls the money? Who benefits from the money? Where's the money going to? Right? All of this hard labor, but the people that's doing the hard labor are not seeing the money. Right? Then you have another guy who's concentrating on the authority and the control. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce one Eliot Freidson to you. Eliot Freidson. Now, let's take a commercial break. You understand? Because I think it's only right. It's that time of year that I bring up the fact about donations. Now, many people do support and many people don't. Let's keep it real. There's a lot of y'all that have not hit that super chat, and that's okay. Because you probably heard me complain, like, YouTube likes to keep a lot of that money. I had a Cash App. I could swear to you that I'm being targeted because my Cash App was taken away. However, I do own a legal business and have a legal bank account for that business. It's called Beyond You. You may have heard me mention it when I mentioned Beyond You TV, because I do have a network. You can find the link to my donation. It is the season to be given right now. You understand? We just witnessed baby Jesus' birthday. The new year is upon us. You've been over here all year laughing and cackling it up. God damn it. I would say it's about that time. You do a little $5 in that account. You understand? I got two places for the link. One is right there. Posted in the chat, and the other one is in the video description. Now let me just vibe out for a second before we get started. Y'all gonna make me do it. Here we go. I'm gonna let y'all hear one of the songs. They didn't really come out good. I'm still working on them. I wrote the lyrics. It took me a while because first I had to create that beat, then I had to write the lyrics, and then I worked on a couple of tracks to see if I could get this to come out right. Let me play this one right here. Let's see what we get.
I've been searching for so long for answers to questions I never asked. I'm moving too fast, but I think life's slowing me down. I couldn't hear or listen to reason, to wisdom. I just move like the wind till I become a victim. Feeling out of place now, not in a position to hear the Almighty. Oh no, my God, no, life ain't easy, but it's getting way too hard. It's that inner city living, MLK Boulevard. I'ma stop fighting just me and getting scarred. Dear God, it's me. Your bad, it's me. I'm asking for your help just one more time. Please don't pass me by. Dear God, it's me. It's me. I'm asking for your help just one more time. Please don't pass me by. Dear God, it's me. It's me. I'm asking for your help just one more time. Please don't pass me by. It's me. It's me. I'm asking for your help. Please don't pass me by. Please don't pass me by. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's me. Oh, it's me. It's me. I'm asking for your help just one more time. I'm asking for your help just one more time. Please don't pass me by.
Yeah, so that's what I was working on all day long. Now, let's get back to the program. I'll try not to take any more breaks. That's a lie. In about another 45 minutes, I will be doing another commercial break. Now, where were we? I believe we were right here. All right. Somebody got on Angie's nerve. What happened here? Okay, we got Jesus was Mexican. And then Angie says was not for you, Charles Madison. Okay. All right. So he was an American sociologist. He passed away, Eliot Freidson, one of the founders of the sociology professions. Best known for analyzing medicine as a power system, not just a healing practice. Medicine as a power system, not just a healing practice. Studied how doctors gained authority, autonomy, and social dominance. So you guys can go look him up. But I found the correlation between Karl Marx, Max Weber, and himself relevant to where we're going. He says society is organized by three systems. So they all kind of have these three systems, their own philosophy and theories of what society is either controlled by or organized by. But to be fair, he uses the word organized. And he says society is organized by three systems. Markets, which is the money. I believe that to be true. Bureaucracy, rules, which goes back to what Max Weber said. And professionalism. And he doesn't mean how you show up in a plaid or pleated skirt or pants with a clean collar. That is not what he is talking about, but he's talking about the expert authority. Sometimes I get people that come over here and they say, yeah, but Saladin, man, mainstream this and mainstream that ain't going to accept you. And I usually tell people how I feel about mainstream. Mainstream could be brought, bro. So I'm not impressed. I don't give a shit about mainstream. I know intelligent mainstream people and academic scholars and people that go through the rigmarole to have the privilege to be accepted into these circles. And then I know intelligent people that will never make it to those circles ever, and they don't care to. Now, my thing is this. Should I think less of this guy over here? Because he's never going to make it to those upper echelon circles. He's never going to do it. I'm telling you right now. However, his logic and his reason is intact. He won't pass the bureaucratic rules. There's bureaucratic pitfalls. When I first got to corporate, I was falling in all of the pitfalls because I had never worked in this environment, and I had been in the street. And the street is nothing like corporate world. You just can't. I've tried, but you can't just invite somebody to the bathroom. I have done this to punch them in the face because you don't like what they're saying. That's not how they work things out there. And guess what? You're not proving that you're a tough guy. They look at you like a Neanderthal and an asshole, which you're probably both. And you've proven their point. You're not cut out for this particular arena. Go back to whatever fucking low level, place you come from. And I just have to keep it real with myself, but the crossover, the transition from going from one bubble to the next, you may need a chaperone. You may need a mentor. I suggest, this is why internships are good. And we're going to talk about internships in a second when I start breaking down the origins of medicine in the United States. But when you dealt with a mentor, I know you guys hate when I don't finish a thought, but sidebar. I'm reading Knights of the Seven Kingdom for the second time. Why? Because I'm a fucking nerd. Duh. Now, Knights of the Seven what? I forgot. Anyway, it's part of the series of that involves Game of Thrones, Fire and Ice or something like that. The next book I'm gonna read is obviously A Game of Thrones. HBO is about to come out with this series, I think next month, of A Night of the Seven. Is it called The Seven Realms? Where's my phone? Hold on, because this is gonna bother me, because I'm actually reading the book right now. Every day. I don't know why I don't know the title. Give me a second. Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. My bad. So, Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, in the book, they follow around a young boy who's a squire to a knight, a hedge knight. This was a thing. This is how you became a professional at one point in time. But nobody wants to work under anybody anymore. And they can't take the heat, right? Your boss uses some hard language to you, or raise their tone, or you don't like how they're feeling, and you want to quit and go off on them. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, like I told you, I went through a bad transition, and I call it bad because I was ignorant, right? I'm doing all type of dumb shit, thinking I could really take behave the way I used to act in an unprofessional environment and bring it to a professional environment. It's not. And you'd be surprised how many people deal with this. So if you have a grandnephew, you understand, you have a grandson, you have have these conversations now with them. Put it in their brain. Let them know, right? Even if they're fucking up, find a way to let them know, because they may not be fucking up forever, and they may remember your words. Don't think that everything that my grandparents said, even if I didn't listen back then, that shit still is with me today. And it has helped me. And I know the same for you guys. So, you may feel like it's falling on deaf ears. Don't give up on them yet. Let's keep going. So, he's saying that out of all of these three systems, in which he says society is organized by three systems: money, rules, and expert authority. Medicine is mastered by the expert authority, and we're going to see that in a second, how that came about. I'm going to do that for you guys. This is why I'm asking for you to donate, because I'm explaining some shit that nobody else is going to explain to you in this length on the internet. Otherwise they would have fucking did it, and I guarantee you I'm going to be the only one out there with like a 3-hour live, 4-hour live explaining this shit. Nobody else does it. Doctors didn't just gain scientific knowledge, they gained social authority. They became the ones who decide what counts as an illness, what treatment is legitimate, whose knowledge matters, and who gets silence. Ooh. So many people got silence. You can go over to Beyond You TV. There are a bunch of documentaries of people who got silenced. This stuff won't be seen on YouTube. YouTube is not gonna watch it. A lot of people, they don't want to lose funding and stuff like that, so they're not gonna touch it. Nobody funds me, so you can't take away what you never gave me. So there's that. Medicine is a profession first, not just a science. Freidson argued that medicine is not governed purely by science or markets. It's governed by professional control. We're going to see why in a second, though. Doctors define what counts as an illness, control standards of practice, regulate themselves, decides who can enter the profession. And that's crazy. Freidson called this professional dominance. Professional dominance. Doctors regulated themselves, defined their own standards, and convinced the public that only insiders could judge insiders. This is why patients feel talked down to, alternative voices get dismissed, credentials outweigh lived experience. Professional autonomy equals power. Freidson introduced the idea that professions hold power because they control specialized knowledge, claim exclusive competence. True. Both of these are true so far. Control specialized knowledge. It's like, I tell you that they go to these doctors, the whole industry, right? Let's just say the medical industry. They have these conferences, and you have to pay a lot of money to get in these conferences, and sometimes you have to be associated. You can't just walk in off the street willy-nilly. Even if you had the money to get in, you're not a part of an association, an organization where you should be privileged to sit in on these conversations, right? That's the first sign that you may be an agent against the system, right? So they want to eliminate that. But it goes deeper. We'll get into that later. Freidson introduced the idea that professions hold power because they are trusted by the public. And that's the other thing. This goes back to the Stanley Milgram experiment. Anybody in the white coat has to know. And they have to be, the one in charge. Well, God damn it. Can you order me a white coat off of Walmart, or Amazon? So I could just walk around with that all day? Since that's how you feel. That's how easy it is to brainwash you. I've been in situations where I've questioned the doctor and they looked at me like I was nuts, right? They want people in my family to take all type of pharmaceuticals that have no efficacy, rate above 10%. But you didn't expect me to ask that, did you? So when I do ask, now you're looking at me crazy. Now you don't want to talk to me. Now you want to talk to somebody else in the family. Anybody but me, because I'm not a fucking sheep. You thought you was just going to get a little commission off of giving somebody this, recommending this bullshit to somebody? Side effects are horrible, and the efficacy rate is absolutely atrocious. And you have the audacity to sit up here and continue to recommend. That's crazy. Doctors gain independence from markets, independence from government, authority over patients. Medicine became legitimizing. All right. So that being said, I think we're going to move on into the main and last part and the hardest part of our show right now, which is the knowledge. All right. Now, I don't think this has a show. Let me just try to see. View. Nope. I can't make this like the slide, but if you want me to, best I can do is, I could do that. All right. I'll try to make this fast because I just want you to get information. It just won't be fast. However, I'm trying to make it fast as possible and not dull at the same time. But I'm really giving you this so that you have the knowledge. Let's be clear, right? I want you to understand a little bit of history. It'll be good. And even if you can pass it down orally to your family members, right? You could share the link. I would love that. But if you know, then you can tell other people the history of how the medical industry actually came to power. So in the 20th century, the term scientific medicine really became popular. And I think in the 19th, we'll read here. So I might be wrong about that. That might be the 19th century. The 19th century that happened, which is the 1800s. What caused me to even start researching this? Well, what caused me to research this is when people kept on saying, "Yo, you against vaccinations?" Like we've been using these type of vaccinations all for thousands of years, and I had to go do the research myself, and I just seen a lot of stuff wasn't true that people are saying. Let's start here. Code of Ethics. The AMA's attacks on... Wait, I'm not going to start there. I'm bugging. I'm starting here. Scientific medicine. Thank you. Bugging. Starting. Let's start at scientific medicine. Well, we could do it like this, too. I don't have to start reading yet because I do have... I do have audio, but I did turn some of this shit into audio. So that would save me about 4 slides. Let's start here.
Scientific medicine. Throughout the 19th century, the medical profession was almost constantly frustrated in its attempts to gain public confidence and raise professional incomes and status. Despite varied attempts to alter the competitive market economy for medical services, the dominant portion of the profession continued to be plagued by competition within its own ranks and from those beyond the pale of orthodoxy. In this episode, we will see how the rise of science in the latter part of the century provided the solution that medical reformers had previously sought in vain. Physicians and biological researchers consciously applied the methods and principles of scientific research to problems of disease, though even in the 1860s their work had little support and played a very minor role within the medical profession. At about mid-century, however, leading reformers among elite medical practitioners took up scientific medicine as the ideology of professional reform and uplift.
Stop right there. So now we have a better timeline of what century this took place, right? So he just mentioned... Now, let me give you... So you know I'm just not up here talking bullshit. All of this information is pretty much verbatim in the book I keep showing you, Rockefeller's Medicine Men, right? So... I think that's by Ernest Brown. Rockefeller Medicine Men by Ernest Brown. Right? So all of this is pretty much verbatim. So now that you have a resource, he mentioned, though even in the 1860s, their work had little support and played a very minor role within the medical profession. At about mid-century, however, leading reformers among the medical practitioners took up scientific medicine. So mid-century is about 1860. That's fairly new. It's fairly recent, in my opinion. Let's keep going.
Medical science gradually provided practitioners with a somewhat more effective medical practice, enabling them to increase their credibility with the public and reduce economic competition within the profession. Scientific medicine was adopted as the unifying theory that enabled the dominant profession to develop strong political organization and to win political and financial support from wealthy people in society. Perhaps most fundamental, the association of medicine with science won support from the new technical, professional, and managerial groups associated with the growth of corporate capitalism.
All right. So that last paragraph and the upcoming paragraphs that we will be reading, go back to the three philosophers who were speaking about the frameworks, their theories on the frameworks of society when it came to who controlled the money, who controlled authority, and then how these authorities and these areas of controls align with medicine, right? Is the medicine for the people, or do they outpower the people at this point? Let me read that last paragraph again. Scientific medicine was adopted as the unifying theory that enabled the dominant profession to develop strong political organization and to win political and financial support. And to win political and financial support from wealthy people in society. Perhaps most fundamental, the association of medicine with science won support from the new technical, professional, and managerial groups. Well, we do get a little bit into it in this, what we're going to read today. However, if you would have read my my audiobook, Rockefeller Medicine Men, Philanthropy, which you can get from audible.com, then that would have all been explained in there, right? So let's move on to the next chapter.
American medicine in the 1800s. In 1800, nearly all American physicians received their training at apprentices at the side of a practicing physician,
That's right.
assisting with simple techniques and mixing medications.
Right.
In the 18th century, medical lectures had not been widely available in this country, so young men from the upper class went abroad for their medical education, especially to Scotland. The handful of Edinburgh-trained physicians in America developed very successful practices, with the wealthiest city dwellers for their clients and lucrative consulting practices besides. By 1800, only about 100 American physicians had attended medical courses at Edinburgh, and only 3 American medical programs at Pennsylvania, Harvard, and Dartmouth were offering lectures to supplement the apprenticeship. The graduates of these institutions formed a medical elite, and together with the rank-and-file apprentice-trained physicians, they formed the self-styled regular profession. But most Americans were probably not getting their medical care from regular physicians, whereas most of the populace...
Now, let's stop right there and just think about this logically. If you had enough money to send your child, or to just go to school, period, to study medicine, then more than likely you guys came from you were well-to-do, what they would call well-to-do. Let's just think about this rationally. Who wants to spend that type of money and then come out and then there's no real, you got to struggle to make a dollar, right? And why are you struggling? Not because well, to be honest with you, you're struggling because there's competition, right? Your technology is quite frankly new to society. again, because, obviously the earth has been here for billions of years, but we're at the point again where it's new to the people again. Who knows how many years it took us to get back to the point where we're running around as professional healers, and maybe not that long ago, because they keep erasing history. So we don't know if they had these type of doctors in Egypt, right? Professional board of doctors. We don't know if they had them in Sumer. Like, they just keep erasing fucking history and giving us what they want, and so it's a big guessing game. Nonetheless, my point is this: you send your child to Scotland because we didn't have that many schools over here. So like they said, you was either going to Harvard, Pennsylvania, Dartmouth, or you was going to go overseas. Those were your choices. Now, you spent that type of money, and obviously all these people came back home. Your parents have money, your network has money, and you want to start making some money. And you feel like the biggest thorn on your side are the herbalists. And that's not what they were really teaching you at this school. They was teaching you something else, right? We kind of know this because we know who eventually would take over the universities and the colleges in the first place, which would be Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. They gave big endowments to these so that they can control them. You find all of that out in my book on Audible that you can go get now. Rockefeller Medicine Men, Part 1, Philanthropy, right? You can go do that now. I am going to put out Part 2. But lucky for you, you're listening to Part 2 right now. You're just going to listen to it uninterrupted.
Lived in the countryside or small towns, most apprentice-trained doctors and the few medical school graduates lived in the large towns and cities. In Virginia, by 1800, the 11 largest towns had only 3% of the state's population, yet 25% of all physicians known to have practiced in Virginia during the 18th century lived in those 11 towns. Most Americans, when they were sick, consulted herbal practitioners. These empirical healers had no formal training, but apprenticed mainly with other herbalists. Some of the herbalists were midwives, and others were men and women who had experimented with herbs and were known for their abilities to heal the sick. Lay healers were distributed throughout the countryside. They seldom relied on healing for their entire support and charged little for their services. Regular physicians were increasingly plying their art on a full-time basis and charging substantially higher fees, often supported by medical societies publishing fee bills to place a floor under competing doctors' charges. The maldistribution of regular physicians and their higher fees were only two reasons why the regular profession was widely unpopular in the first half of the 19th century. Very much related to their social, economic, and geographic separation from the populace, the orthodox profession's clinical practice was greatly feared by much of the population. Not only did medicine offer little hope for curing disease, but the heroic methods used by regular doctors were unpleasant and often lethal.
The maldistribution of regular physicians and their higher fees were only two reasons why the regular profession was wildly unpopular in the first half of the 19th century. Again, we now understand why they're paying higher fees. They got to get a ROI, a return on their investment. So we understand the fees. And we understand now certain people are not going to. So it didn't make sense for these people to move to rural. We're having sociology conversation now. It didn't make sense for them to move to parts of America where they knew people could not pay that type of price for their services. So where did they stay? They tried to just remain in the cities where they know that people could afford us if you do get sick. But that was only half the problem. The other problem is they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and they were hurting people while they were doing it. They didn't know what they were doing, and people were feeling the pain while they were doing it.
The lancet was the physician's indispensable tool for nearly every ailment. Benjamin Rush, the most prominent physician in America from the Revolution through Jefferson's time, urged bleeding for yellow fever not only in cases where the pulse was full and quick, but where it was slow and tense. When bleeding was not recommended, and even when it was, calomel, chloride of mercury, holop, or another purgative was administered. The violent vomiting and purging that resulted were more detested than even the pus-filled blisters induced as another form of therapy. After attacking the body as well as the disease with bleeding, blistering, and purging, the physician administered an arsenic tonic to restore the weakened patient's vigor.
This is all true. This is bananas that this even took place. Right? Yet, when they dealt with the herbalists, they didn't have to deal with all of this. The problem is this. Suppose you really did have some herbalists that really did know what they was doing, which was majority. I'm gonna assume right now. I could get into the books, but I'm going to say a majority, probably more black people. Why do I say more black people? Because I'm being racist? No, that's not the reason why. I'm saying more black people because they had a heavy culture of using the herbs, even from back home in West Africa, right? They're finding ways to still use these type of remedies. And the Aboriginal Native American, I'm going to say them too.
Against this distasteful and frequently disastrous treatment by regular physicians, the empirical herbalists' mild treatments were pleasant, and at the very least did not interfere with natural rates of recovery. Their mild emetics and stimulants seemed closer to nature than the regular's profuse bloodletting and harsh purges. Still experiencing competition from the empirically grounded herbalists, regular physicians resorted to ever larger doses of their therapies through the first half of the 19th century. Believing that any desired change in a patient's gross symptoms was to the good, and seeking to distinguish their art from lay practice, regular doctors bled their patients more profusely and doubled and tripled their doses of calomel and holop.
Stop. He's talking on something Angie just spoke on just now. Treatment of the symptoms is more lucrative for the machine. Now, I'm talking to you. This is why I start way back, right? I don't even care if this is I don't care how many people we have here, right? We have 4 people, fine. Conversation. Don't pay me no attention when I nod off because I'm tired, right? And I really just want to go into bed with my wife and lay down. However, I'm here on a mission and I got to do a job. Now, I'm starting 1800s because I want you to see how far this goes back, where they started, how it started, who controlled it, and it starts off with money. And it doesn't start off with promising scientific medicine. It just doesn't. It actually starts off with lunacy and what some may be even consider heretical. Like, it doesn't start off good. The bloodletting, the arsenic tonics, ridiculousness. Now, I can also show you some homeopathic herbal specialists who also had what we would call ridiculous solutions too. Who was more ridiculous? I don't know. I can't say it was a tie. I just read something where people were drinking manure, turning cow manure into teas. Hold on. Let me just pull that up for you real quick. I think it's page 191. 191. Here we go. Let me just bring that up for you guys. Let's make that big. Right, okay. Mixed with soon root, right? You had goat seed. I don't know what they mean by goat seed. Stinking Jacob. Hold on. Beef hung between the road and house to prevent disease. Like they did have some stuff like, okay, this is just borderline witchcraft. This is just now, okay, granted, I'm pointing out the most extreme cases, right? I'm not gonna sit here and act like everything that the herbalist brought to I'm an herbalist, so I'm not gonna act like everything they brought to the table was tomfoolery. But I'm surprised to see some of these things up here, and I'm sharing them with you, right? So if I can talk crap about the scientific medicine, then, you know, let's just be unbiased. A brass key worn around the neck for heart complaints. Maybe. Brass rings and buttons. Ring on each hand will cure rheumatism. I believe that. Bread. Made into pills soaked in bitterweed for tea malaria. Okay. I might go with that. Buttons worn to prevent. Okay. Calf liver, chamomile, tied to the wound to heal use. Okay. Chicken gizzards. Inside of chicken gizzards kept in pocket to prevent indigestion. Kept in my pocket? Jesus. Chimney soot, linings cure indigestion, combined with bacon grease for rusty nail wound. Yeah, it's a no. It's yeah. Yeah, keep it up, right? I kind of see. Listen, if they was running around winging it, where half of the shit was like, nah, we know exactly. Take the mullein in for, you know what I'm saying, the mullein and or the marshmallow leaf, or get the mucus out of your system. We know these things today, but maybe they didn't have it down packed back then, and they was just shooting from the hip, huh? Cockroaches made into a tea for lockjaw. Nigga, just give me lockjaw. What are you talking about? I'll just be out here foaming at the mouth. Coin, penny, dime coppers worn around the neck to prevent indigestion. Cow hoofs as a tea or flu. Cow's feet are boiled in water to produce oil. Yeah, this must be from back in West Africa. They came over here with all of this. Cow manure as a tea or for flu, made into tea for indigestion, mixed with whiskey and made into a tea for measles. Used with mint. I don't know if the mint is. I don't even know if the mint is gonna help you if you're eating shit, right? It's probably not. I love this one right here. Dish rag. And it has to be a stolen dish rag. Well, this is going to be a hard... Imagine the time machine. Huh? Somebody from this era took a time machine here. They get here in 2025. They get sick. They get a sty on their eye. It says, dish rag stolen. Steal someone else's dish rag and rub it over the sty. Then throw the rag over the left shoulder at a crossroad or bridge at midnight. It's a lot. It's a lot. I might be inclined to sit with the white man and just hear him out. You understand? I might. Huh? And y'all gonna have potato au gratin over there too? Shit, that sounds good. My folks got chicken gizzards and cow manure tea. I might join you. I might just hear what you have to say. You understand? Because I'm walking around with styes and all type of shit, and I gotta find a solution. Dishwater, used as a bath to promote good health. Yeah, you think? Dog manure, used as a tea for measles. There's a lot of manure going around. And most of this shit is in Texas. What are you doing in Texas? Earthworm. Cook earthworms in grease and rub it into parts having rheumatism. These people. It says eggshells made into tea for whites. Angie says the people in the Appalachian Mountains have been using natural healing for centuries. True. Mountain people keep their knowledge of generations because of their isolation. And I agree with Angie. Now although Angie, I'll give a little pushback. The mountain people have discovered TikTok and Instagram, and they've been writing books and selling the cures on Instagram. However, I still think they're credible. I still think saying all of that, I still think the mountain people are credible with their. I live in the mountains. I told you I buy my eggs from the lady down the block. If you drive down the block, not even a whole mile, you're going to pass a house. This guy has goats, bees, pigs. He has everything. Roby says, sounds like something I drunk, something one drunk person in the tavern would tell another drunk person. Yeah, to convince them to buy their next drink. Well, here's the thing, Roby, and this is what I was about to say. Some of this, I can't vouch for none of this shit I'm reading right now. And just to be clear, the book is called African American Slave Medicine. This is the last, it's not even a chapter. It's just knowledge, right? So, to be very clear, what page is that, 196? Because I don't want to make it seem like these people are just out here doing bullshit and you can't trust. No. There's different. The name of the book is African American Slave Medicine, Herbal and Non-Herbal Treatments. So I was only reading the non-herbal parts. I can definitely go to the parts where I can read the herbal parts, right? I was reading the non-herbal parts. Now, here's the chapters. Introduction, medical care and slaves. White medical care of slaves. I'm not going to read this to you guys because I don't have the time. However, we can go to appendix. Let's just go to 180. And now we can get to things that probably make more sense. Peach tree leaves made into poultice and used for inflammation of the back. Right? We can get pepper grass, tea made for unspecified medical use, combined with the pokeberry pine. Okay. Mixed with onions and honey to make a cough syrup. That makes sense. And my point is this. We know these things worked because it kept them alive. They were still doing it, right? They would have not been doing it if these things did not work. The problem is you had some people that were taking advantage. They weren't selling the real deal, right? Many of these things have to have a base, an alcoholic base. If they could not, I mean, you got to also think the sanitary, there was no OSHA at that time, right? The sanitary expectations or the just appliance to being sanitary at that time was probably non-existent. They probably didn't take it serious is what I'm saying. So the opportunity for a bunch of people to get sick while you're trying to create a solution for them was understandable. Definitely, Angie. And to be honest, Angie, sometimes I like to start with the ridiculous. Right, so I could do exactly what I just did, and turn the reversible jacket inside out. I do a lot of things that seem by accident, but then it's deliberate, and the magic is in pulling it off and acting like it was an accident, but it wasn't. I started with the wild I started with the wild and ridiculous on purpose so that people would join in and be like, oh, let's have a laugh at that. That's ridiculous. Only so that I can come back and say, yeah, that was the non-herbal. Now let me show you the herbal. Yes, the copper and the metals, yes. So if you notice, what they started to do is they started to put copper in the socks and they started to sell, right? Because it helps with the muscles and the inflammation. Right? And again, I showed you guys the book. I digress because I would love, even though it's not going to happen, I would love to get out of here in the next half an hour. But I doubt it. Anyway, let's continue on.
The profession's heroic therapy became the focus of increasingly bitter and widespread attacks. Thomas Jefferson called them an inexperienced and presumptuous band of medical tyros let loose upon the world. By the middle of the century, cholera victims were given an even chance of being done in by the disease or by the doctor. The profession's fearsome and futile methods reduced public confidence in regular doctors to an all-time low. Leading local and regional members of the profession tried many methods of increasing public confidence in doctors and reducing competition.
All right. And reducing competition. Let's go to licensing. Licensing wasn't a long. That wasn't a long video at all. Wait. That was the second. I did 1, 2. Oh.
At various times during the 19th century, they sought licensing laws, formed new medical sects, started medical schools and issued diplomas, organized state and national medical societies, demanded medical school reforms, and adopted codes of ethics, all with little or no improvement in technical effectiveness, credibility with the public, or their own status and fortunes. Licensing. Despite the antipathy of much of the populace, regular doctors at the end of the 18th century persuaded fellow gentlemen in the state legislatures to pass medical licensing laws to restrict or prohibit practice by herbal healers. Licensure bestowed exclusively on regular physicians the right to sue for fees. The legally sanctioned economic privilege did not provide the regular profession with an economic monopoly, but it did set them apart from and above lay healers and most other Americans. In addition to the public's lack of confidence in regular physicians' clinical methods, populists in the Jacksonian era articulated their opposition to any form of class privilege. By 1850, medical licensing laws were repealed in nearly every state through the efforts of the popular health movement, a loose populist movement of lay healers, herbal practitioners, artisans, farmers, and working people who fought to remove the legal sanctions that protected the privileged position of physicians.
However, let's move on to the next chapter. Medical sects and medical schools. The humiliated profession was badly divided. Many physicians critical of heroic medicine were attracted to the pleasanter new professional sects, such as homeopathy and eclecticism, that were growing in popularity. These sects built their materia medica around herbal drugs or some distinctive technology or procedure, each adding elements that enabled them to claim the necessity of extended study in their field. Homeopathy, as formulated by its founder Samuel Hahnemann, a German physician, was based on the widely accepted medical view that the symptoms of a disease constitute the disease itself, and a corollary that eliminating the symptoms constitutes a cure. You know what's funny? That the medical system is still kind of moving like that, right? They don't really, from what I'm told and what I read, I feel that they approach it, whereas if they can eliminate the symptoms, then they have they've done a good enough job. That's the best we can do, right? And I feel as a person, you probably want them to find out the root cause. Now, Angie, she done mentioned the Gullah culture, the Gullah Geechee. Shout out to the Gullah Geechee. Angie says the Gullah culture is also very important in natural healing and knowledge of the past. You're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So my great grandfather was my great grandfather was Seminole Indian. I just had to make sure I was talking about my great grandfather there. He was Seminole. Now, some of us were Seminole. We were Nubians who were integrated into the Native American culture, mixed in with their culture. And created our own tribes. But then you had West Africans that were brought to the New Americas, and they still remembered the way of the old people, the old land. So they never fully converted over. So it wasn't really a broken English. It was more like of an old English. It sounded like broken English, but it really wasn't. It's more of a mixture of a break of the original language and an English, which sounds specialized, and these are the Gullah Geechee. Angie says, but they should have left the doorknobs alone. For example, he found that Sinocha bark at the same time used to relieve the symptoms of malaria produced malarial symptoms in a healthy person. From these observations, he developed what he called the law of similarity. I don't know how to say that word. Like cures like. I don't know. Competition between the sects and the lack of decisive public support for any one of them left none of the sects in a position to establish controlling through licensing. So what they're saying is the herbalists, as you just heard, they're fighting for the new sect of medical professionals not to take over, and the new sect of medical professionals are trying to lobby to get the herbalists out of here. So I think they were both pushing, from what I'm reading, to establish control through licensing. The orthodox profession and the other sects turned to medical education and degrees as a method of recruiting and certifying new physicians in their ranks and uplifting the profession. Medical schools proliferated throughout the country, and some 400 were founded between 1800 and the 1900. You know what's crazy? I just want to sidebar right there. There's so many freaking health doctor's offices popping up. Every time I turn around, they're either building a Amazon or a new hospital. But it goes back to what Karl Marx said. Who's making the money? Right? Who's making this money? Where's this money? And when I say who's making this money, how does the insurance company benefit? Right? Now, once they find out how to benefit, do you think it's in their best interest? I'm just asking a rhetorical question. Do you think it's in their best interest for you to really get healthy? Let's ask it this way. If everyone was healthy, do you think they would miss that money because no one was coming to them to get fixed? Let's just ask it that way. I think that's a better way of asking it, right? So now these simple conversations that we felt like Karl Marx and Max Weber were having before, like, this is really simple stuff. Now, okay, now you have some footing, right? When we place it in the right context, it's like, nah, is it in your best interest if I'm sick? How is it that you're building all these places, but I'm always... And then my thought was I'm always sick. But here's the thing. You get people who, you ever heard someone popularity like a Bill Gates or a Fauci that speaks so nonchalant about like, well, there's gonna be another this, and I'm sure of it, and it's like there's no hope that people are really gonna be healthy as they were at one point. And who has the metrics on? Who has the quantitative metrics to measure and see how sick we are now versus 150 years ago? Overall. Shout out to the original man. Original man is in the building. Peace to the gods of the earth. I gave you a shout out like 2 hours ago, God. You good. You understand? You good. Just wanted you to know. Shouted you out early in the game. Yes, original man, yes. And here's the sad part, original man. For the people that's listening on a replay, original man is saying they're making meat from 3D printers. You know, here's the sad part. They've been doing this for a while, and they're just now letting the people know. When does that become legal? Why is that okay? What congressman is going to stand up for us to say, yo, is this okay? Now, I got a lot of reading to do, so I better get to reading, because we ain't nowhere close near. Nowhere close near. So they're saying that 400 schools were founded between 1800 and 1900. That's a lot of damn schools. Local physicians organized schools to supplement their practices with lecture fees paid by medical students and through their graduates to fatten their incomes with increased consultation. At a time when the physician considered $1,000 to $2,000 a year good income, the average part-time medical school faculty member earned more than $5,000 annually from student fees and private practice, while more enterprising and popular colleagues earned at least $10,000. Like hundreds of general colleges started with the Civil War by rival Protestant sects and political groups, many medical schools were started by rival medical sects to improve their competitive position. Vice versa, other sects. The Orthodox profession controlled by far the largest number of schools. So, right now, what we're witnessing is either way, the lay healer is being phased out, right? And again, who are the prominent lay healers? Well, that's going to be your colored people, right? Whether they were slaves or not. You got to consider these people was trusted to give white infant babies their breast milk, which is wild. I think the white man was out here wilding too, right? Yo, you just had a kid. Why is your kid sucking on this black lady's titties is beyond me. But if you like it, I love it, I guess. I don't know what's going on. I don't particularly. Every time I see that image, I'm more upset because of how she's treated, right? Like, I just think about the fact that she had to whip out her breasts, probably in front of everybody. Like, that shit pisses me off. I don't really, but that's not what the show is about. I'm just letting you know that I get pissed off even looking at that shit. But it's kind of wild that it's also wild that you let your child suck on her titties for milk. That's wild too. It's like, was your breast not producing milk? What are you doing? Either way, I made that point to make the point of this. You know they trusted them in some form or fashion, because if they're going to let them drink nigger milk from the titties of black women, for a fact, you know they're going to come to them and try to get them to use some of that magic to make us better. Which is not if it wasn't magic. You understand? This has nothing to do with hoodoo or voodoo. That's not what they were doing. They were just doing what the ancestors did for hundreds and thousands of years. Just using what's on the earth to heal us, because everything that we need to heal is right here on the earth, right? But this is the same reason they thought Jesus was a god, because the Essenes were actually healers, master healers. The Essenes is the same people who set up hospices all over, so that when they travel, they can like have a hospice to, in case they needed one. But also, that's where we get the hospital from. But the Essenes were master healers. And I often ask people, okay, you telling me Jesus was a Jew? They say, yeah. I say, what type of Jew was he? Most people don't know how to answer that. Right? So the conversation, I just leave at that point, because I don't want it to be awkward, right? You don't know. You trying to tell me about Jesus, asking me if I have I ever considered Jesus as my Lord and Savior? Yes, I have. And I decided he will not be my Lord and Savior. How you like those apples, right? So I start asking you a little bit, since you want me to choose Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I start asking you some questions about this Jesus. You should know. Turns out you don't know jack shit about Jesus. Otherwise, you would have known that he was in the scene. You would have knew that. That's fucking knowledge that you don't even have to look far. He wasn't a Sadducee. He wasn't a Sadducees, and he wasn't a Pharisees. So, what was he? What was he? It's a rhetorical question, because I just told you he was in the scene, and they were master healers. Let us move on. The proliferation of medical schools in the 1800s assured the dominance of diploma-carrying regular doctors over lay healers. Well, I just said that. If they're starting this many schools, the only competitive way for the herbalists to really stay alive is if y'all would have had to start just as many schools. But lay healers were pretty much poor folk. Why? Lay healers didn't earn most of their money from helping people get well. Lay healers usually had something else they did, and then when someone got sick, they go grab Aunt May, right? Go grab Mr. John, right? But Mr. John usually did other shit. He wasn't just sitting here cranking out tinctures and churning leaf petals all day long. He had other shit to do, but it's just that he was passed down this knowledge and he knew how to do it. That's different from someone hitting 18 and then their parents sending them off to Dartmouth or Harvard specifically, John Hopkins specifically, to learn this new medical science. And then coming out and having the title of being educated in these areas. So as 400 schools, and schools started to pop up, by 1860, regular physicians outnumbered other sectarian doctors 10-1. There you go. The inexpensive and widely dispersed medical colleges encouraged large numbers of young men and some women to attempt careers in medicine. Right? Now we seen the origins. Graduates, many of them from the yeoman, farming, and working class families, filled the cities, towns, and countryside of America. Elite regular physicians resented the competition within a dominant sect, but they saved their most venomous denunciations for competing sects. The sectarian doctor was the greatest foe to the medical profession, argued the dean of Tulane University Medical Department, because he was an obstacle to the financial success of the respectable medical practitioner. As the number of physicians increased, organized doctors became increasingly worried. It was clear to all physicians that producing a lot of doctors would lower rather than raise the status of incomes of the profession as a whole. Now, let me explain that. What they're basically saying is supply and demand. If there's too many doctors, then it would just lower the price. Everybody would just keep lowering their price, right? Because we're a dozen. You can find us pretty much everywhere. At this point, we're just running around healing us like our one another because there's so many goddamn doctors, right? So that's what they're saying. They're lowering their price. Let's keep on going. Lacking the public support necessary for effective medical licensing laws and still smarting from the humiliating defeat of medical licensing early in the century, the reformers turned to medical school reform. And that's where your boy John D. Rockefeller comes in. Now, let me just elaborate on that a little bit. Basically, what he's saying is they weren't, the public still didn't have trust in them. Like, all of that bloodletting and they had some procedures that they would use all the time, but that don't mean they necessarily worked. And again, they hurt a lot of people. And they weren't necessarily proven to work now. I mean, shit, we're not still out here bloodletting like that. Like, very seldom offers. Someone falls on their head and a big fucking lump starts to form, the blood swelling. All right, you need to let that blood out. But that's not even what they were doing. They just felt like you had bad blood in you, which is almost equivalent to saying you got the demon in you. It was very similar to it. Huh? You got a demon in you? Let me cut you open and let some of that demon blood out of you. Very similar. Roby says, hard to measure due to the different types of sickness caused by different things. Microplastics wasn't an issue then. That's true, Roby. That's true. This effing guy says, how many Jews are in things? It's interesting. This guy can't let me do a show without trying to get the fucking Jews to attack me. It's funny to this fucking guy because they're attacking me, not him, right? I'm trying my best to just not, right? I swear I thought I was being targeted by them. They just took my fucking cash out, bro. I'm just trying, at this point, I'm trying just not to be a target, right? You guys go do whatever the fuck it is you do, right? And I'll just be over here doing what I do. But then this effing guy, he keeps poking the bear. He keeps poking the Ashkenazi bear. But he does have a fucking point, and that's probably why I mentioned them every chance I got before, because they were fucking everywhere. And it's like, it's not just me, bro. It's not just me. You're in music industry. You're in the movie industry. You're in fucking law. And I'm mentioning where you actually dominate the decision. Like, you're the top people. I'm not mentioning, like, areas where just you kind of spring, like the fucking NBA team. You understand? It's not like there's one guy who's like, yeah, well, Skoloshkovich, his parents are Jewish, and he's just one tall, retarded white boy on the team, dribbling all stupid. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you guys are fucking like dominating everything. Really, because when I looked at it, there was a lot of people who changed their names. That's a group. I don't have time to talk about that. Not tonight. I do have time, and I will make time, but I'm always talking about them, and that group is just wild. Because you had Christians who just became fucking Jewish because they felt it was more lucrative. Right? Didn't one of Trump's daughters just become a Jew? Shit is crazy, bro. This fucking guy said, he said they're all over this town, and he's trying to move the blacks in. Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. I've never lived around Hasidics. I don't want to start living around Hasidics. Let's just put it like that. Right? So, am I moving back to the hood before I move to Hasidic? Fuck yeah. I'm just keeping it 1,000. I don't know. I don't know how to. I'll be nervous. Let's keep it 1,000. I will be nervous. I'll shoot somebody by accident. That's how nervous I'll be. He's probably coming up to me to say, "Hey," right? And I'm ignorant. I don't understand your fucking dress and your stockings and your big hat. I might just let one off. Ah, oh shit. Jacob, what are you doing? I was just coming to say good morning. Yo. What are you doing walking around in these old English penny loafers and these fucking white stockings, my boy? I got nervous. And why? Why do you have on a fucking furry big hat in the summer? You know I got that shit on me. We've had this discussion. Just keep me in the black neighborhood, bro. I can do business from... we can do business from wherever. Just keep it 1,000 with you. Keep me... I'm not living in that neighborhood. I've read the Talmud. I've read the Talmud. I've seen too much. You cannot... It's over. Let me just move on to another fucking conversation. The inexpensive and widely dispersed graduates, many of them... Okay. Here we go. As the number of physicians increased, organized doctors became increasingly worried. It was clear that to all physicians that were producing a lot of doctors would lower. Yep, we spoke about that. Okay. The reformers... Okay. Raising medical school standards and thereby reducing their enrollment, medical reformers believed would simultaneously win public confidence in medical practice and reduce the output of doctors. The problem they faced was how to control the independent proprietary medical schools. Okay. Let us move on. Medical societies. Local and state medical societies representing the practitioners fought with medical schools in their areas. In 1847, the societies band together to form the American Medical Association. So that's the AMA, the American Medical Association, the AMA. In 1847, the societies banded together to form the AMA. In 1847, I gotta repeat that to you guys because I want you to leave the show knowing shit, right? So now you know dates and now you know acronyms. AMA is American Medical Association. When was it formed? 1847. At the founding convention, leading practitioners passed resolutions that sought to raise requirements for preliminary education prior to the admission to medical school. Okay, so now they really have a tactic lined up. So, few Americans had the requisite education at the time that enforcement of these standards, according to historian William Rothstein, would have closed down practically every medical school in the country and would have depleted the ranks of formally educated physicians in a few years. From its founding onward, the American Medical Association was hostile to the interests of proprietary medical colleges and their faculties. The practitioners wanted to reduce the output of medical schools in order to reduce competition within the profession, while the medical faculties opposed any attempted reforms because of their interest in maximizing their lecture fees and future consultant fees. Unfortunately for the practitioners, the reform leadership mistakenly thought that including medical schools in the new national organization would allow the medical societies to control them. This strategic mistake immobilized the AMA as the vanguard of practitioners' interests until 1874, when medical college voting rights in the association was abolished. All right, let's move on to Code of Ethics. The AMA attacks on medical education and especially on other medical sects was supported by Code of Ethics adopted by the first convention. With the Code of AMA, American Medical Association, hoped to deny the ability of patients to judge their physicians or disagreements between physicians, to encourage attacks on irregular doctors and quacks, and generally to reduce competition among regular physicians. Can we pause right there for a second? So, if I'm reading this right, I think we're looking at the beginner stages. I don't even think they've gotten to the Hippocratic Oath yet, because obviously they're still figuring out, and as I'm reading this and as you're listening to me, they're still figuring out they're still fighting with each other. So you have societies, you have professional medical societies clashing with the schools because everyone's trying to gain ground, because obviously there's an opportunity to make money off of what? Lectures, if I'm reading this right. Lectures and all type of fees for learning and stuff like that. So they kind of want to be the first. So they haven't figured out which, obviously, if you're living in the year 2025 of your Lord, you've figured out, they definitely figured out how to work together. But at this particular time in the reading, they have not figured out how to work together. Now, I stopped because I'm going to have to go to ChatGPT right now to ask about the Hippocratic Oath. Let's talk about the Hippocratic oath. And we'll get back to that in a second. All right. Where does the Hippocratic oath come from? I'm sure it comes from Hippocrates, but I want to ask questions I know the answers to. The Hippocratic Oath comes from ancient Greece, traditionally dated around the 5th century BCE, and is associated with Hippocrates of the island of Kos, often called the father of Western medicine. Was he called that? Look at that. If he's the father of what? Would you call him? Of Western medicine? Okay, time to curse ChatGPT out. If he is the father of Western medicine, then who the fuck is Imhotep? Oh, okay. Look. More bullshit. Short answer. Your instinct is right. Calling Hippocrates. Oh, I forgot to say his name all of a sudden. The father of Western medicine is cultural and political label, not a factual starting point. So my point is, why are you teaching this shit to people, bro? Why you can't tell people that these people from Greece were learning from Africans? Because they always pass off these people. It's not that Greece didn't have black people in it like there. Greece had, from what my understanding, black people in Greece. I think it's the newer people, right? The people after the medieval period, after they got re-civilized, I don't know what the fucking gripe is with the black man, but they're trying to whitewash the history, right? They'll tell you about Pythagoras, but they won't tell you that Pythagoras sat outside of an African mystery school for a year begging to get in and learn. They'll tell you, oh, the doctors have to take a Hippocratic oath, and Hippocrates, he was the father of Western medicine, and blah, 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 blah. What? What are you talking about? Tell the truth to the people, man. Because what happens is you give a whole group of people false confidence, and then they look at somebody else as if they're inferior for no reason, right? Like, yo, we the best at everything, not knowing the real history of shit, and now we got a problem. But of course, this is what the elites want. They always want us battling with each other so that we don't have time to pay attention to the stupid shit that they do. Now, Angie says, I believe some people are natural born healers. Now, I would love to finish this show, but at 8:30, I'm probably just going to go in the room with my wife and daughter and play around with them for a little bit, because the night is going to get away from me. So I probably won't finish this show the way I want to. But let's try to get some good work in here before I go and do that, right? Angie says, I believe some people are natural born healers. It's a deep understanding and connection to the world as a whole. Energy and herbal healing works. Of course, Angie. But what's understood doesn't have to be explained. I don't explain this a lot because, like, to you, I wouldn't have to explain this. Obviously, you are an adept in certain areas, right? And if I'm not doing the show on that, I usually do. I don't talk just to hear myself talk, right? If I'm doing the show, it is so that we learn, right? Or there's a chance to educate. But I know, I can tell when some people are more advanced in certain areas, right? So everything you are saying is right. There are certain parts of the body where our energies, in my opinion, let me say that right now, right? They're more resourceful when they exude through our body, right? Now, for some reason, and I can explain it to you, but I've found this out in my studies, and I've probably even read this. Like, I've probably forgot way more than I definitely forgot way more than I remember. But starting with a positive energy, first of all, just a clean, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? Let's just start there. Something that's in you can't come out. And if there's darkness in you, this is why people were like, you don't touch me. You know what I'm saying? You can't be allowing everyone to touch you. Because when we talk about a spirit, let's just take the spooky spirit away and let's just deal with energy, which we all understand the process of energy coming from the sun, coming down, photosynthesis, through the food, going through us. Energy cannot be created or destroyed at this point. It can only be transferred. So we all understand this part, right? But some people have manipulated these frequencies down here, and they have very dark, what we would describe as dark, negative energy. There's a polarity, right? And some people say to me, "Hey, but you are using negative words and da 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 da." You know why? Because my thing is balance. I'm not down here trying to be perfect, right? I'm trying to be balanced. If I'm too far to the left, that's not balanced. If I'm too far to the right, that's not balanced, right? I'm trying to be balanced. So I may say some words with not any ill intent behind it, but to your virgin ears, it sounds like I'm saying something negative. But as a man thinketh if in his heart, so is he. The words before you even spoke them, the intentions of your words, the intent should have been there. So many times when you hear me talk, I don't got no malice. I may be making fun because it is like trolling. It strikes a nerve in some people. So I'm going to make fun. I may say it. I'm not even making fun. I may just say it. Just because I know it strikes a nerve in you. Right? I use the word faggot. Do you think I run around hating gays? I don't. It's a rhetorical question. It's rhetorical. I do not. I don't think about the gays enough to hate them. And actually, they make me laugh. So, chances of me hating gays are slim. They're fucking funny. Except dykes. I don't find dykes funny at all. They get on my fucking nerves. Right? You fucking serious smile a little, nigga. Huh? You fucking run around looking all tough and shit. Yo, just smiling. Tell some jokes. Be like the fucking gay guy. The guys. They're fucking always joking around and shit. Can we get more vibrant dykes? Can we work on that for the 2026? Anyway, I digress. Don't get me fucking started on nonsensical conversations. The point is, the fucking point is, black man, you're great, and they won't let you know how great you are. They out here talk about fucking the Hippocratic Oath and all this other shit. Even ChatGPT is letting me know right here, calling hypocrisies the father of Western medicine is cultural and political label, not factual starting point. Let's straighten this out cleanly. Who Imhotep actually was? Imhotep lived around 2600 BCE, over 2,000 years before Hippocrates. Is that how you say his name? Hippocrates. I don't know why I want to say Hippocrates, which I'm probably right. Hippocrates. Yeah, Hippocrates. He was a physician, an architect, engineer, a scribe, a priest, a scientist, later defined as a god of medicine. That alone should tell you something. Medical receipts, not myths. Egyptian medicine under Imhotep was empirical, anatomical, diagnostic, surgical, and documented. The Edwin Smith Papyrus shows case-by-case trauma analysis, brain injuries described accurately, prognosis categories. I will treat, I will fight with, I cannot treat. No spells, no gods, just observation and logic. So, we pay homage to Hippocrates. Okay, let's continue on. At the same time, the AMA, American Medical Association, complained about the low standards of medical education. The association commanded patients to trust their doctors. The obedience of a patient to the prescriptions of his doctor should be prompt and implicit. The code of ethics instructed the patient should never permit his own crude opinions to their fitness to influence his attention to them. What? That's kind of crazy. These efforts to bolster the profession's These efforts to bolster the profession's falling economic status and power were legitimized on moral and ethic grounds by the medical society. Since the colonial period, violation of ethic codes had been grounds for ostracizing non-conforming physicians. Codes were used not only against their sex and lay healers, but against members of the regular profession who consulted with homeopaths and eclectics, and even against the developing medical specialties which offered competition to the general practitioners. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, guys. Give me a second. Christmas. Hey, babe. I just added 2 new movies. I just added this Christmas. I'm about to come in there and watch it with you guys. All right. If you haven't noticed that there's a bunch of Christmas movies on Beyond You TV. Now, like I said, I'm going to have to end early tonight. However, I think what I'm going to do for you guys is we'll continue off in the morning, right? Right where we left off. And that'll help us finish. That'll help us finish. This topic the way we should, right? Because I gotta spend some time with the family and smell the roses while I'm still on top of the grass. It's important. And we did a lot tonight. We got a lot done. So again, I appreciate everybody that held me down. It was only a few of us. I know I'm ending at an awkward spot, but I'll just call this part 1. So we'll do part 2. And we'll finish strong. We'll finish strong. All right. Shout out to the whole Poker Face Society. I'll try to be here. It's like 7 in the morning. Let's see what happens. But I will do a show in the morning. That being said, man, let's rock out and you guys have a blessed night. A Merry Christmas. Do remember to get over there to Beyond Your TV. Today, I might put a beat album together. I'll let you know if I do. Anyway, you guys have a good night. I'll let you later. Peace out.